Rebel salute, rebel salute. How you doing? How you doing, everybody, wherever you are? Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies and comrades. I'll be here briefly today for another 30 minutes of daily dose of political rantings. Okay? Rantings and wafflings. So tune in. Okay? And by the way, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please follow me on Twitter as Kenya Revolutionary, okay? Revolutionary, okay? Follow me on Twitter. The name right there. That name, just type it on your YouTube. Find me, subscribe, share, like, comment. And if you want to join this discussion, I'll put in the link so you can join me and tell me if you agree with my analysis or my ruffling and rambling or not, okay? So do that. So before we get started, we have to agree on something. Find me on YouTube, type that name, subscribe, like, share, comment, because immediately I finish talking here, this will be automatically recorded on my YouTube channel, which is Kenyan Revolutionary. And you'll find me there so you can comment, and I will comment back if you don't want to join the live. But if you want to join the live right now, I will post the link right now. Just give me 2 seconds. If I can find my mouse that always escapes me, so we can talk about the topic today, which is subverted democracy versus people-backed military coup d'etat. Okay? Now, you might be wondering, what do I mean when I say subverted democracy, and what do I mean by military coup d'etat, people-backed military coup d'etat? I'll give you an example. Nigeria and Burkina Faso. Look at those two countries. I'm just giving an example. And even not Nigeria, we're Kenyans. Let's talk about Kenyan democracy, okay? But let me post the link so if you want to join, you can join me. All right. Where is it at? Okay. I've copied it. Let me post it right now. So in case you want to join me, you can join me. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, there you go. I have posted it. It's on the chat. So if you want to join me and disagree or agree with me with what I'm going to say, you are more than welcome. This is open to anybody and everybody. Okay? Everybody and anybody who wants to talk about this. Now, there's a reason why I want to talk about this coup d'etat thing, because I was having a discussion with one of my friends in another platform, and his argument was he's not happy about what happened in Burkina Faso. I want to use the Burkina Faso example. Okay? Burkina Faso and Kenya, all right? We want to compare the two, because there we had a military junta or hunta, whatever you want to call it, military folks who took over the country, seized power from the British-backed president at the time of Burkina Faso, and they started ruling, okay? Now, before I get to that, I want to clearly paint a picture of what we have in Kenya, because maybe we do not understand, or maybe we know, but we cannot even diagnose what the problem is in Kenya. This morning, I was listening to this professor. It's called Professor Ogola, who really actually articulated very well the problem that we're facing in Kenya. He mentioned that the problem in Kenya does not start with Ruto, it starts way before Ruto. But anyway, the most interesting part of that of his submission was that he highlighted that there are three things that happened. Not three things, but three information that were being told as the Wananchi regarding our debts. Professor Ogola told us that according to the parliament, Kenya's debt is only 2 trillion. Now, according to the treasury, they're telling us that Kenyan debt is 6 trillion. And according to the government, the executive, they're telling us our debt is 9 trillion. So who is telling the truth? Okay. And he gave an example of how one of the people, I think the Treasury, the Treasury say that we now even budget for corruption. Okay. Now, I want to speak generally. We are being duped, scammed into paying debt that we actually don't owe. That's number one. And we know the big problem is corruption in every level of government, from the county level to the national level to the national government. There's corruption everywhere. I mean, I can go example, whether it's Siaya with Orengo with 900 million that cannot be accounted for, and Orengo is still walking around with no problem, with no bodyguards or nothing. He's just enjoying life, okay? That's an example. But we have to ask ourselves, what is the solution? Because I can sit here and eulogize about the problems that we face in Kenya, highlight, name names, okay, from the days of Kenyatta 1 to Ruto, name people who have been involved in scandals, of people scamming us of money, taxpayers' money, and everything. But what is the solution? Because every time it's need drama after drama after drama after drama. Money is being misappropriated. There's injustice. The justice system is broken. Everything is broken. But how do we fix this? Okay, because the people that we hope that can fix it, the parliamentarians, the police, the judiciary, okay, the senators, the governors, the MCAs, they are letting us all down. None of them is doing anything. At least Mr. Okiom Tata, to be fair, is the only one. I think he's a Busia MP who is trying his best to change by using the system that we actually have. He tries to bring these cases through the judiciary, but he failed. For example, the Finance Act, he mentioned how illegal the Finance Act was, okay? The budget, how illegal the budget that was passed was. He tried to go through the system that we have, the judiciary, which is obviously compromised, okay? So what is the solution? We have two choices. The number one choice is the current one that we are living under, which is subverted democracy. You might be asking me, what is subverted democracy? Why do you say we have a subverted democracy? Subverted democracy is because, yes, we have some semblance of democracy in Kenya. But the truth is, our president, our leaders since Jomo Kenyatta, and the current one right now, Mr. William Ruto, is a puppet of the West. Okay? He takes his orders from IMF and World Bank and the King of England and the US of A. Okay? He's a puppet. So his interest is not the people's interest. He has to follow orders. In that case, we have a semblance of democracy, but it's subverted because our president, our executive, the legislative branch, and the judiciary, including our military, is being controlled by the English and the Americans. The West is controlling us. That's why we have all this debt that are not paid off. Some of them, in fact, 90% of the debt that were acquired by Kenyan government was illegal. Okay? And even the Senate, remember I told you this, when the Senate inquired about this, Kimani Ichung'wah refused for the Senate to audit the debt so we can find out how much actually we owe. So not to go further from the topic, I just want to mention this. We live under a subverted democracy. It's not really democracy, it's a semblance. It's some sort of democracy, but it's not truly democracy. It's a subverted way of how we are ruled economically. We are still under colonialism. If you want to have evidence why I'm telling you we are under a colonialism, just look at when King Charles came in this past week. Okay? Look at all of those people who went in that banquet, including the very person, okay, who in the past we have looked at as the opposition, as the hope of actually bringing change, Mr. Raila Odinga. I'm not going to isolate him today because this is bigger than him, but he is part of the problem, okay? He is part of this elite political class. These members of the elite political class in Kenya are billionaires, US dollar billionaires, because they've looted the country to death. And that's made them billionaires, okay? And the reason why they get away with this is because they make the laws, they control the media, okay? They control the education sector. And guess what? They take and they have the protection, okay? The protection of the West. The West protects them, okay? So every time we have an election, okay, you see what happens. The least person, the person that we don't want in power, usually gets voted in. And even if in the case where the person that we choose, like in the case in 2002, when we chose Kibaki after 24 years of dictatorial rule by President Moi, when we finally chose our person, Kibaki within the first 5 years was compromised. And he went back taking orders from the IMF and the West. And now we find ourselves with Ruto. We voted for Ruto. Let's not have any qualms about it. Okay? Don't listen to Raila Odinga and his nonsense about, Sijui election was stolen. That's just gimmicks. Those are gimmicks that are designed to create a crisis and a situation for them to bring in the BBI that most Kenyans rejected. That is the whole purpose of Raila being there, pretending that he's the member of the opposition. But Raila is part and parcel of this current government. That's why you saw him go to the banquet to meet the king, his colonial master, him and Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta. Uhuru Kenyatta did not go. Uhuru Kenyatta has apartments. The Kenyatta family has apartments in London. They own apartment buildings and several businesses and business in London. Just think about it. Even the thieves in Kenya are not even patriotic. They take the money that they steal in Kenya and they invest it in Europe instead of even investing in Kenya. Sina fadhali hata invest hapa Kenya usaidie watu. So people can get education and people can get a good paying job. They steal the money from Africa and they ship it to Europe. That's how sad it is. Go look at the Panama Papers, okay? Whether it's the Kenyatta family, whether it's the Moi family, these guys have been looting billions and trillions of shillings, okay, that they're investing in Europe and in the USA. Instead of investing, they don't even help their people in the stolen loot. They can't even play the Robin Hood, okay? They steal and they invest it somewhere else. But anyway, since we are being ruled by colonial stooges, people who take their orders from the West, okay? For example, William Ruto. You can only tell. You know, some people can say, can you prove William Ruto is a colonial stooge? Just look at how much money he has borrowed already. That's number one. Number one. We've been told we are under SAPS, okay? Structural Adjustment Program under the IMF. And they take over some major facets of the economy. The West will control it. Our military. Why do we have military? Our military being trained by the British and the Americans, okay? They give us the guns and all that stuff and train our military who are undertrained, okay? You see how our military suffer when we go to Somalia, and now we were sending Congo and somewhere else. Now they want to send our police officers in Haiti. But anyway, another thing, just look at what Ruto is proposing for our country. The kind of judiciary, how is judiciary? Look at what this Koome talking about. We need to get rid of corporal punishment, or he's okay with this LBGT, whatever case. You know, we ask ourselves, why is the Chief Justice, coming up with proposing laws that are un-African? That's something that's foreign from our culture, okay? Mwanaume anaoa mwanaume. What kind of culture is that? And we have a CJ who's saying it's okay that he bring that, it should be legalized. Stuff like that. You saw Museveni. Museveni stood up and said, we don't want this nonsense in our country. Now Museveni is facing sanctions because he has rejected, okay, the proposal by the West talking about LGBT and all that nonsense. Bombo clat. Kudos to Museveni, even though I think Museveni should be in jail and killed or somewhere, okay? But that's the point I'm trying to make. If you want to tell if a leader is a colonial puppet, just look at what they propose. If they keep on borrowing from IMF and World Bank, okay, and letting these economic zones in their own country, okay, letting the GMOs come to the country, okay, these people are selling human meat, okay, GMOs that bring cancer, okay, seeds from Monsanto that messes up our production in agriculture. We are an agroeconomy. So if you take out seeds from Monsanto and bring it to Kenya, how does that help the farmers who have to come up with money to buy those seeds, which are expensive? We are being dependent on the Europeans, this Monsanto, these corporations that make up the IMF and World Bank. Why do we have to receive their crap that make our people die? Okay, this is the Shindano. I don't want to say because I don't want to win. Why do we accept them? Have you ever wondered why we have all these diseases in Africa? Okay, and these fake scientists come down to Africa and they always want to put needles in our kids, in our little children, and our vulnerable mothers who are not well educated. Okay, they want to put that stuff and they tell us to give up our organic, natural remedies that we've been using from time to time from our grandmothers and our great grandmothers to cure these diseases that they claim that you want to come and cure, even though they're bringing these diseases to us. That's why we have this Ebola, AIDS, all that was brought from Europe and America, okay? Why do we accept that? If you have a president that accepts that, then you can tell he's a colonial stooge. Look at Russia. Russia has rejected every GMO, okay? China is rejecting every GMO. Most of European countries, the food there, they've rejected every GMOs. But Ruto is telling us that GMO is good for Africans. Why is it that? Why are they dumping their crap on our land? Why? That's a reason I'm telling you. We are living under subverted democracy. There's no democracy, okay? They're choosing colonial stooges to rule over us, okay? To push their agenda on innocent Africans. But I want to go back to the point. Now, when the king came in, I told you when the king came in, King Charles, that evil, decrepit son of that old witch that died, Queen Elizabeth, hopefully he's paying for her sins in hell as we speak. But anyway, you saw when the king and Camilla came over, and you saw how many politicians were hailing this king of England, this monarchy, the English Empire, the British Empire, who have killed more people in history than any other civilization, okay? Whether you're talking about the African continent, okay, Argentina, name it, okay? The atrocities that the British Empire has committed, especially on the African continent, is unforgivable. It's worse than what the Germans did to the Nazis. But you never hear people talk about reparations. You just hear this prince come over here, okay, holding his dick, talking shit, talking down to African leaders, and we sit there as idiots, hailing him as a king. What kind of king is he? Africa should stand up. We need to have real revolutionaries. Let me go on now. What is the solution now? Because now we have in Kenya, we do not have an opposition. Both the so-called opposition, the Azimio folks, and the leading government, whatever, Kenya Kwanza, are both colonial stooges. You saw them meet that king and were hailing, bowing down to another man. The only king that any human being should bow down to is the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, Jesus Christ. That's the only king that any human being should bow down to. Don't bow down to the Queen, the King of England, the evil British Empire that have killed billions of people from New Zealand. Go read the book called The British Gulag and read how they mistreated, how they tortured, maimed, killed thousands upon thousands of Kenyan Mau Mau freedom fighters. So for any politician to even be, that's why I have some respect for Gachagua. Gachagua, say what you will about Gachagua. Think he's back, whatever. Think whatever you want to think about Gachagua. But for him, he had much respect for his ancestors and said, you know what? I'm not going to shake the hand of the oppressor. I'm not going to do that. I have much respect for Gachagua. Gachagua, if you're looking at this, rebel salute to you. We should not bow down to any man who calls himself King of England. We don't recognize that king. The king that his forefathers committed atrocities against our people. And you're still talking about your highness. Your highness, my ass. King should not be, he should not set a foot in any country in Africa. This is what I'm saying. So the biggest trick they ever did, this British Empire people, who are the former Roman Empire, okay? These satanist, devil-worshipping, blood-sucking motherfucker. Listen to me. What these people did is do this. They chose a bunch of useful idiots, William Ruto, Uhuru Kenyatta, Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka, and the bunch. Make them rich, okay? Make them sign a bunch of contracts that ties in the government, okay? Against our will, against the will of the people, telling us we have to pay for those billions and trillions that they're spending through the IMF, that they're borrowing through the IMF. They borrow that money, okay? They spend it on private planes, luxury lifestyles, buying mansions in London and Madrid and everywhere else, okay? Apartment complexes. And they hide those billions at the Swiss bank accounts where you cannot trace them, okay? As the Panama Papers told us. That's what they do, so we cannot trace them. Once they get these people to borrow those billions and trillions of dollars and money, they're worthless money that is backed by nothing. They don't have gold. France doesn't have gold. England does not have gold. They just steal from Africa and other parts of the world. But anyway, they use these useful idiots to rule over us. And they train the military and the police forces to protect these useful idiots that we call the elite political class, that carry out their errands, that you see go to the State House to meet that old decrepit man. There's a reason why Prince Diana divorced Charles. Can you remember why Prince Diana divorced Charles? Okay, Prince Charles. Go back and see that her interviews. Prince Charles is a sick fuck. Go read about that. And these are the guys who you are shaking hands with. Okay? But anyway, let me continue. We are living under subverted democracy. Let me give you an example of the other alternative that we should look at, which is people-backed military coup d'etat. Look at what's happening in Burkina Faso. I'll give you some numbers here, okay? Since Ibrahim Traore took over for 3 months now, Burkina Faso is the 4th fastest growing economy in the world. 4th fastest growing in the world. What did that Burkina Faso junta do when he took power from that French puppet? He took over the government, okay, and told that French stooge, colonial stooge, I'll hang you or get away. We jailed him, okay? And he took control of the natural resources, okay? The French, okay, they were selling uranium at 80 cents per kilogram. Traore said, no, we are now in control of our uranium. They started selling it at 200 euros a kilogram. Now the country, Burkina Faso, is the 4th largest, fastest growing economy in the world. Okay, this is the World Economic Outlook project. Just in 3 months, okay, after Burkina Faso took control of their resources, and they're going to be the most powerful country if they keep on going like that, okay? So imagine if Congo did the same, okay? Now, The reason why I'm telling you this is because in Kenya, we are the contrast. We do not control our resources. The British and Americans do. And they tell you, let us control your resources. We'll give you our worthless dollars, okay? And our GMO foods that will dump on you so you can catch cancer and die. The genocide that has happened in Africa in the hands of these Western governments is unforgivable. But anyway, I gave you the example of Burkina Faso. I will repeat, within 3 months of this military coup d'etat, when Ibrahim Traore took over Burkina Faso from the hands of the French, from the colonizers French, he kicked them out. He kicked the Americans out. He kicked the British out, okay? And took control of the uranium. And now, in just 3 months, Burkina Faso is the 4th fastest growing economy in the entire world. Okay? So look at what, you see what happens when you take control of your own resources? You see what happens? Okay? So what I'm trying to say is this. The solution, and I have 4 minutes left as I wrap up. The solution to the Kenyan problem is not looking at people like Raila Odinga, who has been pretending to be revolutionaries, but as part of the British regime. He is the control opposition to subdue any uprising grassroots revolutionary movement. That is the job of Raila Odinga. But Raila Odinga, you saw, we were told that he was invited by the High Commissioner, British High Commissioner, invited him to meet Prince Charles. I'm telling you, all these colonial puppets in Kenya are in the pockets of the British government and the American government. That's why they take their orders. Okay? Don't be fooled by these people who call themselves opposition. There's nothing opposition. In fact, we don't recognize that narco nonsense that they're talking at Bomas. We should recognize it. It's a nonsensical talks that will take us nowhere. The only solution is to have a military, people-backed military coup d'etat. And I invite Wagner Group from the Russian mercenaries to come help in that Wagner process. Because these British and American guys, they have nuclear weapons that will try to bomb us with when we try to that. Ask yourself why they're not trying that with Traore. Because the Traore people, Russia said, Putin told Ibrahim, I will back you all the way. I will back you all the way. If the British try to attack you, we shall fight back. I told you, Putin has always stood up with Africa. From the 1970s, when he was training Umkhonto Sizwe, okay, in Portugal, in Mozambique, Putin was on the ground training the rebel forces. I told you, Putin was along with Fidel Castro. They came, Cubans came and trained Africa. Cuba and Russia has always been a friend of Africa, helping them get liberated. The British are no longer your friends, are not your friends. They've never been your friends. They've killed most of your people, took your land, and they're still controlling your economy and your natural resources. And you have people still meeting Prince Charles, that demonic piece of shit, coming to Africa, telling us that he's sorry for the bullshit that his mother did. And you puppets meeting that British man, cheesing it up as if it's funny. It's not a privilege to meet the King of England. It's a curse to meet the King of England. Anybody that meets that king and hailed him as a king is cursed. Our ancestors are turning in the grave. The Mau Mau fighters, Koitalel Somei, who was killed by the British, and they took his skull to London in a museum. They've never compensated for that. And you're sitting there, cheesing it up, as it's a privilege to meet Camilla and King Charles, those ugly, demonic satanists that have killed babies and children. We have more resources than them. Britain, England has nothing to offer. They don't have any natural resources. They don't have gold. They don't have uranium. They don't have copper. They have to extract natural resources from us and go build nuclear weapons that they use to intimidate us. Look at how they're bombing those kids in fucking Israel. They bomb Libya. When Gaddafi said Africa should have one currency that is backed by gold, the Naira, the Black Nero. Hillary Clinton and Obama, that sellout, bombed Libya, but they only bombed him after he gave up the nuclear weapons. Ask yourself why they're not bombing North Korea. Because North Korea have nuclear weapons. South Africa, Mandela in 1994, when Mandela became the president, one of the conditions that was before he became president was South Africa was to get rid of its nuclear weapon. Why? Because if South Africa had nuclear weapon, right now we would have kicked the Boers out of South Africa. Those Dutch that came in, the Boers. And what's that's big company, Oppenheimer. That big company that controls the gold trade worldwide. But we sit here and shake hands with these colonizers, these terrorists. It's a shame to see most politicians in Kenya hailing this evil piece of shit that came to Kenya by the name of King Charles. Go ask Diana how King Charles used to treat him. Go ask Diana, Prince Diana, who is dead now. Go read her memos. And you're out here cheesing it up with this bastard, with his ugly Camilla wife. Africans, we should start hanging these colonial stooges that pretend to be ruling us. We should hang them. We should hang them to death. We should go the China way. In China, if you're caught being corrupt, there's no negotiation. You get hanged, death by shooting squad, or we hang you to the guillotine. We should bring back the guillotine, where we hang you in public to serve as a lesson to anyone who wants to take any public money. If there's a child dying in Samburu because lack of food, okay, because some senator or some governor somewhere ate that money, that governor who stole that money should be hanged to death. And there should be no ifs, buts about it. Looking at Raila Odinga to save you, you're a fool. You're a lobotomized parrot if you think that Raila Odinga will help you and liberate Kenya. Raila Odinga is in the pockets of the British High Commissioner. Raila Odinga is in the pockets of the CIA. His interest is not the people's interest. It's been 30 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies, and comrades. Victory is coming. Victory is coming. Subscribe, share, like, comment. I'll talk to you again later. This is Kenya Revolutionary. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings. Ja.